in 2023, I told myself that I was gonna make more video content, whether that be on my Twitch or here or whatever. I just wanted to start working with more video content and shit like that, because I love this shit and I wanted to get more into it so that I could like become better and force myself to get better. And 2023 was also the year that I finished school and got my GED. And between that and music, which is my job, I had zero time for any of that. So here I am, making more videos and shit, and apparently now I make Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Why do I make Yu-Gi-Oh videos, you ask? Because I am beyond obsessed with this game. And I truly do mean that. Like, whether it be opening packs for just the thrill, or chase card searching, going to locals, hosting tournaments at my own house, deck building, keeping up with YCS, watching other YouTubers, seeing like what's going on, keeping up with the new products. I just love this game and everything, like whether it be modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I even went back and rewatched the anime because I truly just love the shit out of this goddamn game. And something I've noticed that I see is with a lot of returning players or new players, there's this giant hurdle you have to get over. Or there's like a really big stigma with like new players and returning players. And I really just hope that like my story could maybe deter people from like falling off or getting into the game, because I really think the more people we have playing this game, the better it's gonna get. And that's literally what this video is. So boom. So a little bit of background information. As a kid, I was obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! The very first time I was ever introduced to the game, I remember I was in grade 1 and I went across the street to my buddy Kieran's house. Kieran, I haven't seen you in years, but I hope you're doing good, bro. I went over to his house and he had a deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I always had Pokemon cards growing up, but when I saw these, I was just so intrigued. I was like, yo, these are really cool. Like, what's this about? And we were like 6 or 7, so I didn't know how to play. Neither of us knew how to play the game, but we like dicked around with the cards and had fun. And I just remember being like, yo, these are really cool. Like, I wish I had these of my own. Like, I really want my own cards. Like, these are so awesome. And when we moved from Toronto back to Mississauga, I remember I was on a walk with my grandma and we stopped in at a convenience store. And you know, if you lived in Canada, I don't know about other places, but in Canada, especially Ontario, if you went to any convenience store or like Cooper's Pharmacy, like literally anywhere had Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like there would be like packs that you could buy at like every store. It was like such a big thing. And I remember I went in with my grandma and she goes, you can have whatever treat you want. And I said, okay, cool. And instead of picking out like a chocolate bar or like some sort of candy, I went right up to the packs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and I said, Grandma, can I please have one of these? And she said, sure. And she bought me a pack. And I'll never forget, it was a pack of Metal Raiders. And it was probably about like 2002. I remember I was in grade 2 at the time. And I opened those cards and I was so obsessed with like the 9 cards that came in that pack. I don't remember what they were, but I just remember being so gassed up on them. Like I was like bringing them with me. I was like trying to like just play when I got home, like figuring stuff out, making up funny whatever, how any ways I could to play with these cards. And shortly after, I remember my grandma buying me Yugi starter deck, and then not long after that, I got my hands on the Kaiba starter deck, and then Joey, Pegasus, and then just booster packs. I remember getting Magic Ruler at the time, the green pack. I was so obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then as I got into my early and mid-teens, what kept me into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game was the Nintendo DS games they were doing. Because those were just a lot of fun, whether it be Spirit Caller, the World Championship games, Nightmare Troubadour, like whatever it was, I just so loved those games. And I think around the time I dropped out of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game was around the Synchro era. I don't remember what year it was, 2010 or 2011, but the World Championship game that came out for whatever year it was, I remember getting it, and I brought it home, and I booted up my Nintendo DS, and the duels were on motorcycles. And your boy was not having it. I hated it. I tried to get into it a couple more times. I kept booting the game up, and every time I booted it up, I hated it more. time. And I think it was like around that time I really just dusted my hands off with Yu-Gi-Oh! I just dropped it entirely. And I didn't like own physical cards at this point anymore, so it was really easy for me to like put it down, trade the game in, and then just fully forget Yu-Gi-Oh! I was also like really into Pokemon VGC at the time, so like I remember like the platinum competition, people like there were like stores and places that were like hosting like Pokemon battles competitively for Pokemon Platinum at the time. And then like Soul Silver, and like it just kept going from there with like Black and White. So I kind of like transitioned out of Yu-Gi-Oh! And like never really looked back. But I really think it was funny because I was so obsessed to the point like wherever I would go, if I saw like a Dark Magician or something like that, I'd be like, oh, like, and I'd always like talk some shit and be like, nah, yeah, like whatever, I'm not really into Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I'd almost like pretend I was like too cool for school type shit. But low key, I always had like that love, you know, like I was like, I'd spent so much of my life into Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think the first thing I want to say is for like people who are watching this video, like spoiler alert, I fucking love modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I love everything about this game. I'm so obsessed with it. And part of the reason I want to make this video is because I think something I see a lot is people who return to Yu-Gi-Oh! After a long time or are just trying to get into the game are so off-put by how fast the game's gotten or just how intimidating the rules were. So I really just want to tell this story and like make this video to show those players and those types of people that this game is really cool and you shouldn't give up on it just because, you know, it's hard to get into. Like that hurdle that you have to go past to get into this game is so worth it. So like I said, I dropped Yu-Gi-Oh! Around the Synchro era. And funny enough, what had got me back into it was the Nintendo DS games. My little brother came over and crashed the night at my house, and we were just chilling, and I can't remember exactly how it happened, but he was trying to push Spirit Caller on me. And he's like, goes, come on, man, let's play a game of Spirit Caller, like whatever the hell. So whipped out the DS's, and we started playing a game of Spirit Caller, and like through playing the game, like, I found myself having a lot of fun. Like I remember what all my cards did. I was like fusion summoning because I was a big E-Hero guy, and I remember just having so much fun. And then he beat me with a fucking Exodia. Like, homie, I know you're watching this, fuck you. But I think it was like maybe a week after our game, I walked into a game store by me where my buddy works, and I asked the question. I said, hey, what's Yu-Gi-Oh! Like these days? And he hit me with, how long has it been since you played last? And I said, probably like 2008, maybe like a little past, not much farther. Like I remember the white cards came into play, and I just kind of like threw it to the side. And he looked at me and said, bro, do you have time? Because we're gonna be here for a while if I explain everything to you that's changed. And I was like, whoa, like what do you mean? Like, not too much can have changed. Like, I've gotten back into Pokemon here and there as far as the cards go, and like, you know, whatever, like, it can't be too hard. And he started trying to explain to me, like, the multiple different ways to summon monsters, and my brain kind of stopped working. And immediately as he's explaining this to me, I was realizing, I was like, okay, I don't think I have the time for this shit. I think I have more going on in my life than this game is worth. And I think he saw that in me, and he's a really big Yu-Gi-Oh! Guy as well. Shout out Zach if you ever see this. And he was trying to like keep me onto it, but I was just like, listen, man, I don't know. Like I love pulling cards, I love opening cards, but I think I'll just stick to Pokemon because it sounds a little too crazy for me. And he turned around and reached off the shelf of the store, grabbed a box of Ghosts from the Past, which, if you know, has a Blue Eyes on it. And he said, here, open this. Free of charge, on the house. Go home, open these. Maybe you'll pull something cool. Maybe you'll get your nostalgia back. Just try it out. So I said, okay, cool. And I came home, and I opened that box of Ghosts from the Past. And my God, my life has not been the same since. I have just over here, I have like 5 binders multiple boxes. I have 16 different decks, guys. I am obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! I have 2 decks sitting in front of me that I didn't realize were going to be in front of me for the shooting of this video. They just are. I have a pack of random cards that I'm throwing together for a deck. Like my Ash Blossom mat. Look, these are empty packs I was opening last night. I am so beyond obsessed with this game now. That guy like got me hooked on heroin via cards. And since then, a lot has happened because obviously, like I said, it's been a very long time since I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! So at first, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to just build decks that I used to know that have gotten support, because he told me there's support for, you know, E-Heroes and whatever the hell, Dark Magician. And one of the things he said to me is, he goes, those decks aren't good anymore. And they're not really meta. And I said, well, I don't really care. Like, I'm gonna figure out a way to make it work, and I don't really want to be playing at like a competitive level, whatever. I'm just gonna try to build a deck that I have fun with. So the first deck I ever tried to build, funny enough, was my Heroes deck. And I remember I bought the Speed Duel box because I knew it came with Jaden's deck from the show or whatever. And you couldn't buy the Jaden starter deck anymore. Hold on, I need some water. Sorry, the hottest balls in the house right now. But anyways, I bought 2 of these to build the Jaden's deck because you couldn't get it anymore. And this is where the story turns into me having a nostalgic love for Yu-Gi-Oh! And having a real love for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So, if you know anything about modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, you know that this is the worst possible thing you could buy. In fact, any of these is the worst thing you could buy. I love Speed Duel, but it has nothing to do with my love for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I love these because of some of the classic cards you can get, and I just enjoy Speed Duel as a product. It's cool to go back and see the old cards and some of the old anime characters and decks redone. Do I think it's good? No. Do I think it's a good product? No. But I also like the product, so shout out to Speed Duel. But anyways, so I built up a deck and I decided to go to locals. And this is during tier elements and the tier format, and Jesus goddamn Christ, I had to get my ass stomped without playing a single turn for like 2.5, if not 3 hours. And I wasn't necessarily mad. If anything, I was trying to take in why it was happening, and I was hearing all the mill effects and then this and that, and I was like, what is happening? Why am I not allowed to even go? How are you one-shotting me? Like, I don't get it. This is insane. And after the night ended, people were coming up to me and they're like, hey, listen, we want to try to help you out. We want to like give you tips on what to do. And part of me was just trying to hear it, and the other half just wasn't, because I was like, no, listen, I'm gonna make my deck work. I'm not here to win, I'm here to have some fun. And clearly, I do need to learn a little bit more about the modern game, but I'm not gonna give up on this shit. So, and some people were giving me some cards, like I remember the one other guy who was playing Heroes there, played Heroes. He wasn't playing Heroes that night, but he played Heroes. He gave me 3 copies of Elemental Hero Stratos. And I was like, bro, thank you so much. This is gonna help me. Spoiler alert, it didn't help me. But it was really nice, and I from like everybody could see that like I was there from a genuine love of the game, so they were trying to get me to come back, and they were trying not to like put me in a spot where I felt bad for losing. Like everybody was like really trying to like help me get better and like give me tips and tricks. And in my head I was like, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna come back with E-Heroes quite yet. Next week, I'm going to come back with Dark Magicians. And I thought that I could make a Dark Magician deck that would last me, because surely Dark Magicians has to be better than E-Heroes, right? Like, it's got more modern support. We got the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. We've got Apprentice Illusion Magician. We've gotten a Dark Magician Circle, Eternal Soul. We've gotten a lot of Dark Magician support that's got to make this deck somewhat decent, right? It didn't go very well. I got stomped for 2.5 more goddamn hours. And at the end of the night, I told myself, okay, next week I'm gonna come back with a strategy that I can't possibly lose. and I came back with the God cards and Exodia in my deck. Surely this time, I've got a shot, right? I didn't have a fucking shot. I didn't have a shot in fucking hell. I got fucking smacked that week. And I got smacked the next week. And the week after that. And the week after that. And I got smacked for 6 weeks in a row to the point where I almost flipped a fucking table on a dude. And by the way, I don't know your name and I feel really bad about that, but you work at Dragon's World and you're really fucking cool. He was actually an employee there. I flipped the guy. Well, I didn't flip it, but I was holding it. Like, I was so angry. I was like, how? What do I need to do to last half a fucking goddamn turn? And bless his soul, I was yelling at the guy, but he was really nice to me. And I could tell that, because he had seen me come up, and I think I even dueled him once or twice before. And I could see that he saw in my eyes the same thing he saw in a lot of returning players / new players. But I was coming every single week, both Mondays and Fridays, because my local holds both a Mondays and a Friday night. And he had asked me, like, why don't you just come for GOAT if that's what you're into? I said, nah, because, like, I wanna be here. Like, this is where I want to be. And he sat down with me and really explained to me, and not only explained to me, but kind of showed me some strats I could be going for with my deck. And not only that, he was trying to explain to me some decks that I could build that would be within, like, a decent price range, and also just certain staples. I didn't even really know what staples were until this conversation, because I was just so off in my own world. And he was explaining to me, like, hey man, like, D-Shifter is a good card. If you pull this opening hand, you could basically, you're just going, people aren't going to be able to go into their fusions, so you're going to be banishing their cards type deal. Like, having Ash in your deck is very useful. Like, cards like this and hand traps are very, very important. You need to get some hand traps. And he was nice enough to give me some hand traps out of his binder. And one of my Prismat Ash is from him. I truthfully to this day feel he beat my ass so fucking hard that he felt bad about it and just gave me a Prismat Ash because of that. So it was around this time that I realized that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't about playing a deck around your favorite cards. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about actually knowing the game and enjoying it. Because if you don't have a love for the game you're playing, you're not gonna get good. You can't be in a mindset around, oh, well, I want to play the Dark Magician deck. Oh, well, I want to play this, I want to play that. You kind of have to, and if you are gonna do that, you have to understand strategies and understand how the game works. You need to understand staples, and you almost need to be in enough duels to understand what's being thrown at you so that you know how to counter it, and be able to throw those things those counters that you need into decks that you want to play. And as somebody who's very competitive, I started paying attention. And it was around this time I started going on yugioh Pro and really putting my, the due diligence that I had to build a deck that would last, and that I could last long enough to learn about counters and learn about what my opponent was doing. And I started paying attention to what they were linking into what, and what they were bringing out with their links, or their XCs, or their synchros, or whatever it is. And it was around this time, and I just want to round back to what I said. Shout out Speed Duel. Because Speed Duel is not the worst product in the world. Because the first deck that I ever built that I actually saw any amount of success with was partly from a Speed Duel box. The first deck I ever saw real success with was a Sacred Beast deck that I built. At the time, I remember that I did like the Sacred Beast. They were never any of my favorite cards. I always saw them as kind of budget GOG cards. But I did like them because I was a really big fan of the GX anime, and I kind of liked them. The one guy really looked like Slifer the Sky Dragon, which was my favorite GOG card. And I remember I had bought the Purple Speed Duel box, and it came with a Sacred Beast deck. And I had also picked up a copy of the Sacred Beast along with a set of the GOG cards back in the day. So I bought I can't remember how I got the third set, but I had 3 of each Sacred Beast. And then obviously there was the Sacred Beast deck with some of the spells and the traps. So I went out and I dropped probably, I want to say less than $10 on the rest of the singles that I needed to build the deck. And I threw some staples in there. And I remember the best feeling I had finally felt after about 7 or 8 weeks, I won my first match. And God, did it feel good. Now, I want to preference that I did not win the whole thing. I won a round, not a match. I won 1 round out of the 2 or 3, and the moment I won, this guy pulled shit up from the side deck and smacked me. But people weren't expecting me to be running anything that was that good, and I was at that moment that I realized, I was like, hey, I'm a player here. Like, I did this. I sat down and I hunted out the singles that I knew I needed, and I did a bunch of research, and I built this deck, and yeah, it's rogue, and yeah, I'm not gonna fucking see a lot of success with it, but I saw some success, and I saw myself finally coming up from this dude who was trying to run the 5 pieces of Exodia and the God cards all in one deck, to somebody who sat down and seen what their opponents were playing and went, okay, what can I do to try to combat this? And winning that round felt so fucking good to me. And from there I decided, okay, well, I want to build something else. People know I'm going to come back with a Sacred Beast deck. What else can I do? And again, shouts to Speed Duel, the next deck I built was a Cyber Dragon deck. And I love Cyber Dragons, again, because I was a big fan of the GX anime growing up. And I seen a little bit of success with the Cyber Dragon deck. I can't remember, I might be capping here, but I'm pretty sure I saw a bit more success with the Cyber Dragon deck than I saw with the Sacred Beast deck. And my God, did that feel really good. And then I decided, okay, I need to find an archetype that is... I'm more of a control player. I realized I was watching a lot of YugiTubers, and I was watching how other people were playing, and I decided I needed to get my hands on or build a control deck. And at the time, Trap Tricks had just been released not too long before. So I went and I bought a copy of the Trap Tricks deck. And through playing it and trying to learn it, I realized I needed 2 more. And they only have 1 more at the store. And I don't know about anywhere else, but in Ontario, this deck went into short supply. So I couldn't get a 3rd copy of the deck. And I had to figure out a way to build this deck without a 3rd copy. And thank God I had an extra Ash, so I had 3 Ash. And basically, I went down hunting and buying singles and offering trades and going to the card shop because... shout out to my local card store, Dragon's World. At the time, they stopped doing this within the past couple months, but at the time they were doing something called Duel Academy, where on Sundays they'd have more like just a casual chill, everybody gets together. It's more trades than anything else, but everybody gets an OTS pack for rolling up. It was cool. And I would go there every Sunday and I'd tell people like, hey, like I'm really looking for these cards, I need this, I need that. And from there I saw these players like starting to recognize my face and seeing that I was finally starting to listen and like try to run more strategies and get these staples and these hand traps and like build a deck that not necessarily would be the best but would last. And then I would see them kind of, you know, like bringing out their decks that I might be able to play against to even just teach me more so, right? And that felt so good to me. Not only the starting to see success with my decks, but starting to see that these other duelists are starting to respect me. And like, I don't know, it was really, really cool. And then like the card shop owners, like that they were getting to know my face because God, I was in there every other day buying singles. I still am. There's a meme that they send me the email that my order is ready to be pulled, and I'm there 10 minutes later, and I have to tell them, like, guys, I'm sober now. I don't have anything other to do with my life other than Yu-Gi-Oh, and I live across the street. What do you expect? But it felt really good seeing success with these decks. And after Trap Tricks, I started seeing a decent amount of success. And I just want to shout out other people at the card store. The people at the card store who see that your opponent is having trouble or might be new, who stop and try to help coach you with your own deck so that you can beat them, or at least learn how to run your own combos. Shout out to those people, because another moment that I had is while trying to learn Trap Tricks, I think I was a couple games in and I went up against Cashed Hero, which will lead us into our next story. But it was the end of the night and I had been just getting my ass kicked up and down because Trap Tricks was not in the elite. Everybody was playing like a tier 1 deck and just stomping me, and I was getting a little frustrated, and I wish I could remember his name right now. I hadn't seen him very many times at the card store, but he came and he was playing Kashtira. And we were going back and forth, and he won the first game really fast, and he saw what I was, in game 2, I went first, and he goes, hey, really quickly, are you sure you don't want to link into Sarah right now? And I said, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Sarah, like, I normally go for this strat. And he goes, okay, well, hold on, have you ever tried doing da-da-da-da-da combo? And I said, no, like, I've seen whatever, but I don't really feel super comfortable with the combo, like, da-da-da. He goes, okay, well, hold on, do me a favor, link into Sarah, just do it for me. And I said, okay, whatever, like, I'm gonna lose anyway type shit. I might as well just, you know, shoot the shit type shit, like, whatever. So I linked into Sarah. And from there, he gave me the rest of the combo that really helped me stop him from playing the next turn type stuff. I ended up going into Rafflesia and, Rafflesia, whatever her name is. And I learned something about my deck from my opponent who doesn't play Trap Tricks, but has battled people who play Trap Tricks and goes, I have a hard time with this play, with the deck that I play. So learn this and work with this. And shout out to people who do that, because that really made me want to come back with my deck, but it also just kind of made me not hate this game. Like, I went from having a not so great night that night to having a night that, like, I went home and I was like, damn, like, I was stoked that I learned something new. Like, I learned something from my losses. And that felt so much better to me than going home with a passion to get better next week, you know? And around that time, I decided, okay, you know what? It's time for me to break out the wallet, save up some money, trade in some of this bulk, trade in some of the binder cards I don't be using, and I want to build a top tier deck. And I landed on Kashtira. And god damn it, I love this deck. All my friends hate this deck, but I love this deck. So I built Cash. And I'm still currently right now building Cash. I don't have all the cards, but it was around the time I built Cash. I want to say I've had this deck now for 3 months maybe. Or I've been building it for 3 months. I've been playing it for about a month. It took me a while to build. And I've really started to understand now, because now I see players kind of fear my next move. I learned about Nibiru. I learned about Summon Limit. I learned about so many of these cards that stop just mentioning that you might have like evenly matched from the Trap Tricks deck. Like I threw not into this deck, but into some of my other decks that I've seen success with. And it was just through like learning all these specific cards and getting my hands on these specific cards that I've really now learned what modern Yu-Gi-Oh is. And now when I go to the card store, I have a lot of fun. Whether I'm going to have a casual play or whether I'm going to like really try to win, whether I have my tournaments here, like I try to teach the people who come here about, hey, you want to try to do this or you want to try to do that, or like I try to be those players who really egg me on. And that's kind of brings me to the end of the story where I tell you I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh again for probably about a year and 2 months. I started again in December 2022, and it is now February 2024. So that is about a year and 2 months. And I won't lie, those first 7 months were really hard. Even though I've seen some success in the early days with some of the stuff I was building, it was really hard. There were still a lot of nights I didn't mention about how I went from the card store not even getting to play a turn in some cases the whole night, or just being shut down so often that it was annoying. But I just want to say to any player who watches this or anybody who's having a hard time with what Yu-Gi-Oh has become, don't give up. Don't get mad at your opponent for stomping you because your deck is ass. Get out there, ask questions, offer trades. Sometimes it will be worth it. I'll be 100% honest with you. I traded some cards I really didn't want to trade to get some cards that really helped me be successful down the line and winning that I look back on now and I'm like, damn, that was worth the trade. And most players that you talk to like that are gonna try to help you out. The friendships that I've been able to make through Yu-Gi-Oh are amazing. The time that I spend playing Yu-Gi-Oh now and building decks and the money I spend on Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't feel bad about spending it. I think that I'm happy I'm spending it here and not on a fuckload of weed or booze or whatever the hell. But also, I think the best way I could put it is Yu-Gi-Oh is time well wasted. I think that this game is amazing, and I really want to deter players, new players, and returning players from leaving. I think that there is obviously a giant hurdle to get through in this game, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Power creep is fucking real, and we are again in a tier 0 format. Fuck Snake Eyes. But at the end of the day, you should be playing this game because you love this game. And I do want to say that if you're coming from GOAT format or even early synchro days or whatever it is, you need to realize that this isn't that game anymore. Well, it is that game, but you should also be going to the card store and collecting this because you love this game. If you do love an old schooler format of Yu-Gi-Oh, then you should try to find Edison Nights, because that is something that's supported again. But don't be deterred because you go on Master Duel and you see somebody doing some crazy combo. By the way, Master Duel sucks because Max C isn't banned. We need to get on that, Konami. But Yu-Gi-Oh is such a great game, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of. And I'm so happy that I found my way back into this community and that I found a love for this game that I really do enjoy. And I do wish the hurdle was a little bit like easier of a leap in. But like I said, I don't really think that's anything that isn't the fault of Konami aside power creep and I guess right now the crazy amounts it costs to build the deck. But this game's amazing, and I just want to say to any returning players or people who are having trouble with the current format, get out to your locals, talk to other players, like talk to them about that. They're probably having the exact same feelings you are, and they won't mind dueling you with like a weaker powered deck. Even I remember going to my locals and saying, hey, you're gonna win. And my opponent will go, well, why? And I would say, because I'm playing fucking Cyber Dragons and I'm nowhere near the meta. And they went, okay, well, hold on, I'm gonna bust out my Melfi deck or whatever the hell, right? Just because it was like their less powerful deck. I remember specifically, I told the dude, hey, I built my Dark Magicians deck. I'm here as more of a meme tonight. I just want to say I play Dark Magicians. And the guy goes, you know what? I love that. You're playing it for the culture. Just because of that, I'm gonna play my Crystal Beast deck. And we had an amazing duel. Everyone around us was playing Tears or Cash or crazy meta decks, and we were out here playing Dark Magician versus Crystal Beasts. And that is a thing that can happen, but you really gotta put yourself out there. You gotta commit yourself to this game, and you gotta find the love for this game. You can't just get mad every time you get stomped, because realistically, if you didn't get stomped, you wouldn't learn how to get better. I really, even now as I play Kashtira as my #1 deck that I love the most, I'm still out here looking to see what my opponent throws at me and working how I counter into the next deck I'm building. I'm currently in the midst of building Exo Sisters, and I know that that's it's a mid-tier, like probably like tier 3, tier 2 deck, depending on, you know, who you are. You might have a different opinion, but I think I'm gonna see some success with the deck because of everything I've learned and the staples I'm gonna throw in and what I plan to do with the deck. So if I want to end this video on a high note that says Yu-Gi-Oh is amazing, and I truly do think that anybody can get into this game, anybody can get back into this game and love it. You just really gotta stick to it. And don't buy the new 2-player starter set because that thing sucks ass. Peace out, guys. I love you. Stay tuned for my next Yu-Gi-Oh video. I'm out.